Thank you for joining us for Ag in the Classroom. Some of you signed up for our workshop back in June. That would be face-to-face. We had about 210 people sign up for that. By the time the workshops came around, we ended up with about 120. They were able to come and see us face-to-face. But we're glad that you were able to join us here for the virtual workshop. This is our first time to attempt this for Tennessee. Our National Ag in the Classroom, we did this back in June for the national conference, and we had right about 50 teachers from Tennessee that took part in that. That was a free opportunity for people with 6 hours on Wednesday and 6 hours on Thursday. That's more Zoom than anybody should have to put up with, but it was very good presenters and good opportunities. I know that the Tennessee science teachers did their virtual conference here just a few days ago, and that you can still view those. They are charging $25, I think, to be able to view all of their sessions. Since we are sponsored by the Foundation for Agriculture in the Classroom, there's no charge for our workshops. There's no charge to you for our materials that you received. Hopefully everyone was able to make it by a County Farm Bureau office and pick up your tub of materials. We did continue to send out that Zoom invite, so there may be some of you that don't have the materials in front of you, but we will try to make our effort to get those to you after the fact so that you will have materials to use in your classroom or in your Zoom sessions or in your Google Classroom, however it is that you're going to continue educating as we get into the school year. My name is Chris Fleming. I coordinate the Ag in the Classroom program for Tennessee. I'm employed by Tennessee Farm Bureau, and this work is done through the Foundation for Agriculture in the Classroom. The foundation is 30 years old this year. That's older than some of you looking back at me on the screen. Ag in the Classroom started about 1982 with the idea that some students really didn't know all the things that the teachers knew. And y'all know that as a teacher, you'll use a figure of speech and the students just look at you like, what are you talking about? We have 5 interns working with us here this summer. And I mentioned to one of them about burning a DVD. And these are college juniors and seniors. And one of them's like, who uses DVDs? Nobody has a DVD. What? And I'm like, I remember 8 tracks and cassettes and all those kind of things. So as we progress, some things kind of get left behind, and some of that is agriculture. But the important part is that agriculture is what feeds us 2, 3, 4, 5 times a day. And without it, we would be hungry. And without some agriculture, we would be cold because we wouldn't have the clothing that cotton and wool and some other things provide. And we might be just outside because tree farming provides lumber that provides houses for us and shelter. So agriculture is very important. And that was noticed that students didn't have that background knowledge like previous generations had back in about 1982. The USDA started asking states, what are you doing about this problem with ag literacy, of students not knowing where their food and fiber and clothing comes from? And so they convened a conference, and they got all folks from all over the country together. And so they started the Ag in the Classroom effort. Then about 1990, Tennessee decided, hey, we're doing farm days, we're doing teacher workshops. This costs a lot of money. Is there a way that we can form an organization that can apply for grants, that can give people tax deduction benefits if they donate to us? And that's when the Foundation for Agriculture in the Classroom was started. And so that's what is paying for the materials that you receive. It's sponsored by a whole host of folks. We have over 2,000 people in our database that contribute ongoing basis. We do receive some money from the state. If you've seen an ag tag on a vehicle going down the highway, and that money goes into a fund, it's called the Ag Development Fund. And Ag in the Classroom, the Foundation for Ag in the Classroom, receives money from that each year that helps to pay for the materials that you receive for being in the workshop, helps us pay for school garden grants, also helps us pay for farm days. We also have other major donors, Farm Bureau, Tennessee Farmers Co-op, Farm Credit Services. I'm going to leave a whole bunch of people out because we have over 100 county farm bureaus and other organizations that we call major donors that contribute $500 or more. And so they are what's making this available to you today. So that's kind of the history of ag in the classroom. A little bit of the need for ag in the classroom. See this big apple? This is a genetically modified apple. It's very thin. So this is not a real apple. If we were talking about science, we would talk about using models to represent concepts that we may not be able to get a hand on. So this is a model of an apple, and we could ask students, how is this similar to a real apple? How is this different? And they could say things like, well, it's colorful, it's shaped like an apple, it has the appearance of an apple, it has a stem, it has a peeling. Are there differences in this and a real apple? Yes, this one is very thin. This one is made out of wood or plywood or plastic or something. This one doesn't taste good. A real apple would taste much better, I think. But we can also compare this apple to the earth. And if we said, what are the similarities between this and our earth? We said, well, it has a general shape, spherical shape like the earth. It's colorful, it has layers, it's beautiful. This has a stem, the earth has a pole, right? So all those things could be used as modeling a concept that it's a little difficult to get to. But what I want to talk about is what part of the earth can we grow food on? Food is probably our most limiting factor on how many people we can put on Earth. There's a lot of people that say we're going to run out of space. We could put all 7.4 billion people that live on the Earth in the state of Texas and still have room in the state of Texas. So we're not going to run out of room. That would cause other problems with traffic. Lord, could you think of the traffic if 7.4 billion people lived in Texas? That would be horrible. So we're not going to run out of room. We may run out of fresh water. That's one of our key things. But food is probably the most limiting factor that we have. So what part of our earth can we grow food on? Well, we know we can't grow it on the parts that are covered by water. So this includes both salt water and fresh water. So you have the part down here at the bottom, Antarctica, you have the Arctic up top, that are covered with water, but they are frozen water, so you can drive around on that, so you could build on that, but we can't grow food there specifically. So 25% of the surface of the earth is land compared to water. Not all of that land is available for growing food, and not all of that land is suitable for growing food. And so if we take away the part that's not suitable, that's about half of the fourth that's left, so that means 1/8. We take that part away. And this is the part, Rocky Mountains, the deserts, the part that's all covered with ice, tundra, taiga, all those things. So those aren't suitable for people to live on, so it doesn't make sense to grow food there if you can't live there to go get it. So the 1/8 that's remaining can be divided into 4 parts. 3 of those are suitable for us to grow food on, but they're not available. Either we've built stuff on them, they're used for other uses, or they may be too wet or too dry. They're suitable, but their soil is not correct for that, or the topography is not right. So 1/4 of the 1/8 that is suitable and available leaves us with 1/32 of the Earth's surface that's available to grow food. Now, for you that are science teachers in upper grades, you say, okay, we know that, and that's kind of scary. That's why we're wanting to know where our food comes from. If you're a kindergarten teacher and you show that to your students, they may freak out. We're going to starve to death, right? Well, the great thing is this land back here that's too dry, or it is too dry, or this land that's hilly, we can actually grow food on that. I'm a beef cattle farmer, so my cows can walk around on that hilly land that we can't grow other food on, and they eat grass that we don't eat, and they turn that into milk and cheese and beef and all kinds of other things. This land that's too dry, we can irrigate that land. We can pump water from underground, and we can put it on the surface, grow food. That water either evaporates or sinks back into the earth. So really, even though we're only using 1/32 of the surface of the earth is both suitable and available, we actually use about 40% of the surface that's available to grow food through modern agriculture. We either select the right thing to grow in the right place, or we provide fertilizer for it if it's bad, or we get rid of the competition by plowing or by using some kind of crop protectant. Right now, we provide enough food for every person on earth to have 2,000 calories and 30 grams of protein, which is necessary for maintaining health. The problem is we're not going to stay at the population we are today, 7.4 billion. We're expected to get up to 9 billion, maybe 10 billion by the year 2050. So we need to figure out how to grow more food on less land. And that's going to take your help, because it's going to be, I'm going to be dead and gone probably by that time. But my children and my grandchildren, assuming I have some, they will be living in that more crowded population, and they will have to have food. The students you have in class today are the ones that are going to have to figure out, how do we grow more food on less land? And that's going to be done by using the best practices that we have available. So we need scientists to figure out how to preserve food. We need scientists to figure out how to increase the nutrition in the food that we have. If there's a scientist that could figure out how to make Brussels sprouts taste like chocolate ice cream, there you go. That would solve a lot of problems, right? So if we have scientists that can do those things, then we will be able to feed those 9 or 10 billion people. Because when people get hungry, it's not long before they get hangry. And if they're hangry long enough, then they get sometimes violent, and sometimes civilization kind of breaks down. So we want to avoid that. So the farmer's view of this is learn how to grow more food, and then we can figure out the other challenges that we have. But if we don't have the food, all the other challenges kind of take care of themselves. The population, if we don't have food, we're not going to end up with 10 billion people. I'm okay with us having 10 billion people, and I hope that we can feed them all. So thank you for joining us today, taking time out of your summer. I'm going to come back at the end of our session today at about 12:45 Central Time. We're going to come out of the breakout rooms. We're going to go into our general room here again, and I'm going to talk to you at that time about our school garden grants. Since you are on here, we are going to make your school eligible for a $500 school garden grant that can be used for an outdoor garden. It can be used for grow light systems. It can be used for a tower garden, and we'll show you plans on how those are done. All of those things, because you are here today. I should find it first. Let me find it first.
Hey, Chris, while you're doing that,
Yes.
Can we get one of those apples somewhere? Is it available to purchase?
So it is. If you go to agclassroomstore.com, those are available. Now, let me warn you, they are like $110.
Okay.
So instead of getting your own, each field person in Tennessee has one. Our Farm Bureau Women's Committee, they have those. And also several soil conservation folks have those that you can borrow. So that would be an option. Forever, I've done it with the real apple, and you slice it up. And then when you get to the 1/32, you actually peel it, because we only use generally the top 6 inches of soil. So that really makes a good impact on students. For 3rd grade and below, I would also include that, we can modify some of that land, so we're actually using 40% of the land, not just 1/32 or 3%.
Can anybody tell me what comes from a cow?
Yes.
Lattes? Nuh-uh. My mom says non-fat half-calf cappuccinos.
Nuh-uh. Grande no from extra hot mochachinos.
Ice caramel macchiatos.
If there's any place that could really use a county fair, it's LA.
Can anyone tell me what comes from a sheep?
Sweaters? Gucci sweaters?
The LA County Fair. Kinder, simpler, funner.
When you have time, if you look at LA County Fair, there's about 10 commercials that they did in California for Los Angeles County to show how disconnected we are from agriculture in general. and they're very humorous. In the chat section, Casey has responded to everyone there and has a link to that Apple use model. On the CD that is in your tub, there's a shockwave file of that presentation done as an animation, so you could show it to your students, or you can do it with a real app.
Delicious. What kind of pie is this?
An organic rainforest apple pie made with non-genetically modified cinnamon. It contains zero lactose, fructose, or any other kind of toast. And it's made with the recommended daily allowance of antioxidants and ginkgo biloba. Oh my god. I think he really likes it.
It's just what LA needs. The LA County Fair.